Good morning. A warm welcome to our officers, elected members, members of the public, and members visiting. Thank you also to Democratic Services. We're joined for the first time in Strategic and Technical by Megan. Very welcome to your first Strategic and Technical meeting. This meeting of the 17th of October 2024, for the benefit of the public attending today or watching on live stream, I'm Councillor Sari House, Chair of this committee, and my Vice Chair is Councillor Bolwell. The meeting is being live streamed and will be available to view on the Council website after the meeting. By attending this meeting, you consent to being filmed. And can I remind everybody that when you are speaking, please speak clearly, directly into the microphones so that you may be clearly heard and seen. The Planning Committee is not a public meeting, but a meeting held in public. All attendees must comply with the ruling of the Chair, and they must not interrupt the meeting or cause undue disturbance. And to support this, please switch off your mobile phones or select silent mode for the duration of the meeting. And those using Teams, please ensure microphones are on mute and your device volume is set to 0 to maintain audio quality. Only those who have registered to speak in accordance with the speaking protocol will be invited to address the committee for a maximum of 3 minutes. No material is to be circulated to members of the committee. We have one application to determine today, and the case officer will be invited to present the report and its recommendations. Next, I will invite members of the public who have registered to speak to address the committee. We have one today, but the protocol order would be public against, public support, against, the agent, town, parish council and ward members. Each would have 3 minutes. Following the public speaking, the planning officers will have the opportunity to address any salient points they wish to clarify, and committee members will be given the opportunity to ask technical questions of the planning officers before moving on to debate. When we go into councillor questions and debate, for the benefit of the public watching and any media, can the members state their name and ward when addressing the meeting? So I now look to Carol McKay, who will be presenting the report today. Carol, if you could introduce yourself and the team supporting you today, that would be great.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Carol Mackay, Senior Definitive Map Officer in the Definitive Map team, and this is Vanessa Penny, the Definitive Map Team Manager, and Hilary Jordan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I ask our public speakers if they wish to make their representation at this point in the meeting or after the officer report. Thank you. That's after. Carol. Oh, housekeeping. Do we have any apologies?
Perfect. We've received apologies for absence from Councillors Spencer Flower, Tony Coombs and David Took.
Thank you. And do we have any declarations of interest, members? Councillor Northam.
Thank you. I'm Councillor Northam, Upwey and Broadway Ward. And I'd just like to mention that I've been, as a ward member, I've been looking at footpaths in the area. The biggest issue that I get in my post bag is about the traffic congestion around Radipol's school. Radipol Lane is quite narrow. The drop-up and pick-off time is a place to avoid. And many people know that and do so, but it is an issue. And so back in January, I did have an idea to improve the footpath to encourage people to walk their children to school. And I did speak with the headmistress at that point, and it's at that stage that I found out there was an alternative, this matter of diverting the footpath and extinguishing the footpath was being considered. And since then, I've had various discussions with residents and again with the school and with the case officer. I'd just like to declare that I have an open mind on this and I have not determined how I will vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Northam. So this application to extinguish part of the footpath 131 and divert part of the footpath 62 Weymouth. Carol, I don't have a planning application number on my papers for that. For the record, could you state that as part of your report? P261, that's lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. So this is a public path application for a footpath extinguishment under Section 118B and a footpath diversion under Section 119B of the Highways Act 1980. These are known as special orders and give Dorset Council, as the Highway Authority, the power to extinguish or divert a public right-of-way for the purposes of school security. The application is being considered by committee because objections have been received to the proposals. The application also affects Dorset Council land. So the location of the application is Radipole Primary School in Weymouth, which is here. The proposed extinguishment of part of footpath 131 is between points A and B, which is shown here in red. The proposed diversion of part of footpath 62 will divert C, B, D, which is shown here in pink, onto a new route, which is C, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, D. The application has been made on the grounds that it is expedient for the purposes of school security and safety. So this is just to give the proposals a bit of context. This is a layout of the public rights-of-way in the wider area if the orders are successful. And here the footpaths are shown in pink and bridleways in green. The application affects Dorset Council land, which is shown on this plan, with a short section of the proposed new route KD, which is along here, affecting land registered to Taylor Wimpey. So it became apparent after the consultation was carried out that the proposed new route should be amended to include this section. The landowner has been consulted on the proposal and their response is awaited. As stated in the report, KD already carries public highway rights. So moving on to the footpaths, I'll just show you some photos along the routes. This is part of footpath 131, which is to be extinguished, looking from point A, generally south towards B. This is just south of point A, looking north to the junction of footpath 131 and footpath 133. Footpath 133 is unchanged by the proposals. It runs off to the north along here and then runs west just round here. This is also the approximate location of the new fencing and a locked gate if the orders are successful. The gate would be open for school drop-off and pick-up. This is between points A and B, looking generally north to point A, and this is a staff car park on the left. This is between points A and B, looking towards point B, with a bike shed on the left here, and you can see there's a low fence and a gate on the right, with the main school buildings also off to the right. And this is at point B, looking generally north to point A. So moving on to the diversion, the proposed diversion of footpath 62 starts from point C. There are a number of places where the used route of footpath 62 varies from the definitive route. So on the left is the used route along here, and on the right is the definitive route at point C looking towards B. So as you can see, it's rather overgrown. This is point B looking back towards C, again with the used route along here and the definitive route along here. This is between points B and D looking west towards B with vehicle access to the staff car park on the left. And this is east of point B, looking northeast towards the playing field, which is here, and point D. This is between points B and D, looking southwest to B. And again, the playing field is here on the right. So this is another section where the definitive route and the used route diverge. This is looking back towards B, with the used route along a pavement and the definitive route cutting through the edge of the playing field. The current route of footpath 62 then continues generally northeast towards D. And this is point D at the school entrance, looking west. So this is the proposed new route of footpath 62, starting at point C, and this is looking towards E. So there is some vegetation clearance required along the new route, but there are no mature trees affected along the new route. This is point F, looking back towards E. So the width of the new path will be 2 metres, except at points E and F, which will be 1.2 metres. This is point F, looking towards G. And then this is point H, looking towards I. So the new path runs along a surface route currently used in part for parking, and the parking spaces will be reconfigured as part of the new secure fencing plans if the orders are successful. This is looking back towards point H. The new route then continues to point I. So this is looking back from I, looking back towards point H. And this is point I, where the new route runs a short distance across grass area to point J. The route then turns, and this is point J looking towards K, where a gap will be created in the hedge. So this is point K, which is out on the pavement, looking east towards J. And then this is point J looking north along the pavement to point D. And finally, this is point D looking south across the school entrance to point K. So the orders are being made under sections 118B and 119B of the Highways Act 1980. Officers consider that the application to extinguish part of footpath 131 and divert part of footpath 62 meets the respective legal tests for order making. It is expedient to extinguish footpath 131 and to divert footpath 62 on the grounds there is a risk to pupils and staff as a result of the current location of the footpaths. The school has provided evidence in support of the application, including a recent risk assessment, demonstrating that there are risks associated with the current footpath layout. Details of numerous incidents logged by the school within the past 18 months show that there are valid concerns for pupil and staff safety. For example, dogs, aggressive parents, threats made to staff, and dysregulated pupils leaving the school site. Dorset Council's Assets and Property team have recommended new site fencing to address risks and concerns about safeguarding children during the school day. The application is also supported by the Council's Health and Safety Officer and Safeguarding and Standards Advisor. The Council are required to consult the police before making a special extinguishment or diversion order. The local police CSO has been consulted and indicates support for the application. With regard to the diversion, there is a requirement for the termination points of the new route to be on a connecting highway. However, following the recent revision to the proposal, the diversion no longer affects the termination points of footpath 62. So the legal tests for confirming an order under sections 118B and 119B of the Highways Act 1980 are also considered to be met. Firstly, the school have taken measures to improve security, including liaison with the police, challenging members of public not on the public footpaths, use of walkie-talkies, signage requesting dogs are kept on leads, signage to deter trespassers, locked gates, partial perimeter fencing, a lone working policy, well-lit car parking area, visitor passes and signing in procedure, supervision of children and a caretaker on site. Further measures cannot be taken whilst footpaths 131 and 62 remain in their current location without separating the main school site from the playing field. There is strong evidence that the coming into operation of the order will result in a substantial improvement in the security of the school. Dorset Council's Assets and Property Team, Health and Safety Officer and Safeguarding and Standards Advisor all support the application and agree that it will improve security at the school and enable the school to comply with government guidance on safeguarding. The diverted route of footpath 62, together with the existing public path network and footways in the area, provide reasonably convenient alternative routes to the extinguished part of footpath 131. There is no route available to divert footpath 31 onto rather than extinguish it. With regards to the extinguishment, there is no negative effect on land served by the current route of footpath 131. The extinguished path will be retained as access for school drop-off and pick-up via a gate at point A, which will be locked except when access is needed. There is no negative effect of the diversion on land served by the current route of footpath 62. Officers consider that the diversion will have no negative impact on the land over which the new path will run. Between points C and K, the new route will be outside of the proposed new secure school boundary. There is minor vegetation clearance needed along the route, so no trees will be felled along the new path, as it's been chosen specifically to avoid this. Between points K and D, the route is along existing highway. The pre-order public consultation resulted in 6 objections. Several objectors have queried the need for the extinguishment and the diversion. There is strong evidence supporting the application. The alternative proposals submitted by objectors have been considered but are not considered viable. Permissive access cannot be granted as part of the orders, but the school has indicated it's happy to consider permissive access across the site. There will be a loss of amenity and an increase in walking distances. The objections raised do suggest the orders will impact on the public enjoyment and convenience of the footpaths. The legislation for special orders does not specifically allow consideration of inconvenience or public enjoyment, but they are part of the overall expediency test for order confirmation. It is necessary to balance the effect of the proposals on the public against the safety of pupils and staff. It is the view of officers that more weight should be given to the safety of pupils, including vulnerable pupils and staff, than any potential minor inconvenience caused by the changes to the public rights of way network. Officers consider the legal tests for order making and order confirmation have been met for both the extinguishment and diversion orders. The application should therefore be accepted and the orders made. If the orders are unopposed, they should be confirmed. If either order is opposed and the objections are similar to those already considered, both orders should be submitted to the Secretary of State for confirmation. The orders are to be made concurrently to avoid leaving a cul-de-sac footpath and to allow the security improvements to be implemented at the school. The recommendations are subject to the Council not receiving any objections from Taylor Wimpey, which have not been considered in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Carol. That was Carol Mackay, Senior Definitive Map Technical Officer and Economic Growth and Infrastructure. Can I move now to the Cathy McCann, who wishes to speak in favour and support of this. Cathy, if I could ask you to introduce yourself and your role, and when you've done that, your 3 minutes will start. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. My name's Cathy McCann. I'm head teacher at Radipole Primary School. I've been a head teacher at Radipole since January 2023 and a head teacher previously for over 10 years. A key priority as a head teacher is ensuring the safety of all of the members of my school community. The factors involved in doing this have changed and become harder over the years. Things that we have to address and be aware of now haven't necessarily been an issue in the past. Many of the current issues that we face in schools are also not necessarily things that the general public would be aware of. Initially, my concerns were around dog walkers and dogs being off lead, particularly during the busy morning and afternoon periods of the day. Unfortunately, we do have members of the public walking with their dogs off lead on the path and therefore crossing through the school when the children, families and staff are around. To me, this is unacceptable and completely avoidable. With 440 children and their families moving on and off site at the start and end of the day, any dog could find themselves in an unusual situation, and no animal can be 100% relied on not to attack if put in an unpredictable situation. We do have signs on the footpaths, but, for example, even last week at lunchtime, 3 dogs crossed through the site off lead as a child was returning from a medical appointment. I can't see any other way to reduce this risk to my children and families by moving the footpath. Other issues are relating to pupil, staff and family safety. Much of the specific details aren't shareable due to their sensitive and confidential nature. However, I've had actual violent and physical threats against the staff in my community, which we have reported to the police. The footpath means that people can be on site, and I can't challenge them as to why they are there. They could be individuals who are ultimately posing a risk to members of my school community. In my mind, surely any risk that can be reduced should be, particularly when we're talking about the safety of children. The application has highlighted some actual examples of situations relating to the concerns: dogs, trespassers, vandalism, individuals with restricted court orders, criminal records, specific examples which have been recorded by staff over time. I've put a huge amount of time and effort into the application because of my belief that I should do everything I can to safeguard my school community, with children at the forefront. I believe that safety is the priority. The diversion will increase the distance by 531 metres. Inconvenience versus safety. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Cathy. Does the officer wish to respond to that at all? No. Members, do you have any technical questions that you wish to ask David Taylor, Charminster St Mary's?
Good morning. It's Councillor David Taylor, Charminster St Mary Ward, and also a member of this panel. Several things have popped up within the presentation by the officer, which I'd like some answers to, if you don't mind. Is that okay? The first one being is that I see on the slide 32, I think it was, 118B, I think it was. Could you open up on the first question? You mentioned something about special orders outside the perimeter, saying about security, dogs on lead, etc., etc. Is that relevant to the outside the perimeter, or is it relevant to the perimeter? Because I'm trying to work out where you're trying to enforce something to make people do, which is not in the control of the school. It's outside the perimeter. You mentioned the very first bit, you opened the question up with regard to the fact that security of dog walkers, etc., being on the new pathway. I've misinterpreted that, have I?
So sorry, I'm not clear on the question.
On section 32, the very first opening.
On this slide?
Yeah, the very first opening, you mentioned something which wasn't on the screen, actually. I was trying to work out where you were going and reading it out. Can you read it out for me?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, sorry.
So, yes, so the legal test for confirming an order under sections 118B and 119B are considered to have been met. So is it when I went through the measures taken? Yeah, okay. So the measures the school have already taken to improve security, I read out those. Is that what you wanted to hear again? That's what the school have currently done to improve security with the footpaths as they are. Is that what you? Sorry, yeah. This is what's already been done, but then further steps can't be taken. That, yeah.
Sorry, thank you, Chair. The other two was briefly one, the new pathway I see is under new vegetation going through. I noticed a couple of trees have been chopped down as well. Is there TPO protection orders on this new pathway going through?
Well, I think I already covered that. So we've chosen the route to avoid having to fell any trees at all. There's one pinch point that's we've reduced the width to 1.2 metres because the tree that you saw reduces the width. The rest of it, just some vegetation clearance, but there won't be any trees needed to be cut down.
Finally, Chair, third question. I see Taylor Wimpey's actually on the final slide. What have they got to do with this?
We amended the proposal to include the section along the pavement, which actually is registered to Taylor Wimpey. So as a landowner, yes, it's registered to them. So we are waiting to hear from them because obviously it's their land. So that's, yeah, it's just that little section.
Just clarity. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other technical questions? Yes?
Thank you, Chairman. Belinda Rideout, councillor for the Gillingham ward. Partly, my question's been partly answered. But regarding Taylor Wimpey, we've had no response. Is there likely to be any issue, do you think?
Well, obviously, I can't speak for Taylor Wimpey, but the piece of land that's registered to them already is covered by highway rights, so it's highway extent. So it won't have any practical impact on the ground. So that would possibly indicate that they wouldn't have a strong view on it.
Ask another question, Chairman. We've heard that there's no trees involved. But I take it any root protection would be looked into of any trees you're close to? Or is that not relevant?
Well, the only works needed where there's some vegetation clearance, that's quite superficial. And then any works that are done as part of the new fencing, they'll obviously take the necessary, do whatever's necessary for that to take place without disturbing the roots. But yeah, it's not intended that the new path will have much of an impact on the trees at all.
Thank you.
Just to be clear, those questions have been answered by Carol Mackay, who is the presenting officer. Thank you.
Councillor Richard Crabb of Sherborne West Ward. Just one question. Will the footpaths allow wheelchairs and pushchairs to go through and other disabled types of vehicle? Thanks.
Yes, so the width is, apart from those two pinch points that are 1.2 metres, the rest of the path will be 2 metres wide. So that should be absolutely fine for wheelchairs and other things like that. Oh.
There we go. Thank you. Yes, where the 1.2 metre pinch points are, can pushchairs and wheelchairs get through those with just a bit of hindrance of vegetation being in the way?
So the two points where it's 1.2, there's one that's next to a tree, so you've got a fence on one side and then a tree. So it's literally a gap of 1.2 up against a tree, and then the other one is where there's a shed, so it's the edge of the shed. So, but 1.2 metres is considered to be that's our minimum standard for footpaths for a gap. So, and that is compliant. So.
Thank you, members. Any more technical questions? David, do you have a technical question?
Yes, a technical question. It's just coming out of, if you look at the map of the entrance to the school, sorry, David Northam, Upway and Broadway Ward in Weymouth. Thank you. So the technical question relates to the map. The route C to J is what's just been discussed about vegetation clearance. And there was concern raised that it might not be suitable for pushchairs and wheelchairs. On the opposite side of the road, there's a windy path, which is a footpath, not a footpath. It's actually just a pavement running into the school, and that's the route that most parents walk along when they come into the school with their pushchairs and such like. So But there will be a fence separating the footpath from the entrance to the school. But most people coming into the school are coming from the road or from the north along where point A, where there will be a gate during school times to let people in. So I don't actually anticipate much wheelchair or pushchair use, because when that path continues south of point C, it is a not very good footpath in terms of surface. So the technical question is probably just to confirm that the route C to J, C to I is not being surfaced in the way to make it suitable for pushchairs and wheelchairs. Just please could you confirm that?
So I think the question there, Carol, is there any remedial work being done to the surface of any of these footpaths to make them any more suitable than they are at the moment?
So the surfacing works haven't been specified, but generally with the diversion, if anything is needed to bring it up to a suitable standard, then that's our requirement. So obviously some of the route is already surfaced. The section which is overgrown, once that's cleared, it might be necessary to carry out some surfacing works. It's not proposed to put a hard surface down, but if that's necessary, then we would do that. So obviously we would make it as accessible as necessary.
Thank you very much. Yes, Pete Roper, Portland.
Thank you, Chair. You did the introduction for me. Yeah, I'll say, yeah, Councillor Pete Roper of the Portland Ward. Part of the presentation, there was, I noted that that the school may support a permissive sort of designation. I'd just like to get clarification of exactly which portion of the footpath this relates to.
So obviously, if a route's permissive, then we wouldn't have to specify which parts are permissive, because it's an informal situation. However, it would be possible, so the locked gate at A could be unlocked in principle and allow permissive access through the route. There would be, it would be possible then to create another gate onto the existing route. But because we can't include that in the order, so we can't dictate exactly what route would be available permissively or when. So it is a very informal thing. So it's not for us to prescribe it, if you like.
David Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. David Taylor again, Councillor Taylor from Chancellor St Mary and on this panel. I need to just clarify to kind of beef up this pathway a bit to see where we're going, because we're creating a new pathway. We've got trees in problems in pinches, 1.2, and we've said 2 of them. So therefore, we've got a hard surface, we haven't got a hard surface. I just want to clarify where we're going with this, because we've got roots, we've got trees, we've got all sorts of things going on, haven't been disturbed for many, many years, and now we're going to put a pavement on, or we're not going to put a pavement on. Can we kind of clarify this bit, because it's a bit like up in the air. Sorry to be so particular, but I'm really getting hard on the trees order now, and just protection of the trees. Thank you very much.
So there's only one tree affected, which I can go back to that slide. Hang on. Gone too far. Okay, so this is the tree, this is the pinch point at point E. So that's 1.2 metres across there. Obviously, yeah, I can't say whether the tree has got a protection order, but the root obviously has to be less than 2 metres at that point. So the surfacing, like I said, the clearance work will reveal if any surfacing is done. It's not proposed to put hard surface down. Obviously, if the ground's uneven, it would need some kind of surfacing works. But just to bear in mind that the footpath then continues around the corner on an unsurfaced path. So it would be in keeping just to keep it like that. So it's quite narrow. So it's really a continuation of that same kind of footpath until it comes out onto where it is currently surfaced. It's not proposed to put a hard surface down there. It's just that if we reveal through the vegetation clearance that it's uneven, that would need to be remedied.
Hence my query and worry about the tree. I'm sorry. The thing is that it's been there a very long time by the looks of it. It looks even 100 years by the looks of it. So therefore, possibly can we addition to this to put a TPO on there or have a protection order on this one to make sure that it's in order? Can we do that? Or as a point of order? Thank you.
So can I ask the officer if they would be, well, I mean, I appreciate it's a different part of council, but I mean, I would remind all members that at any point, any tree can be applied to have a tree protection order on it. And that may be a route the member chooses to go down, but I defer to the officer.
Perhaps if I could just clarify that what's happened in the past on these similar routes is that if once the nettles and brambles and whatever have been cleared away, if it is discovered that there is some unevenness, what the green space team will generally do is put some crushed stone or other soft surface on top of what is there, which will then protect any exposed roots or anything that may be a trip hazard, and just level it out. But that will not have the same impact as tarmac or anything like that. It will be more in keeping with the area, but it will level it off sufficiently so that it is suitable for people who might be taking pushchairs or mobility vehicles down there. So they're very mindful of protecting the habitat and protecting the trees, and they wouldn't do anything to damage the tree. It's not as if they're going to go in there with a digger and scrape the surface off or anything like that. So the Green Space team are very conscious of those legal requirements to protect the environment.
Sure. I need guidance, Chair. Do I need to go forward with this for a TPO order on this one, or can we check that, or where can I go with this? Sorry, Chair.
So as I understand the officer is saying that they wish to maintain the Sylvan aspect of this, that in fact they'll be bringing ground levels up should they be necessary to minimise the impact on the tree. The member still has the opportunity at any time to apply for a tree protection order on that specific one, and you may do that. Councillor Northam.
Again, if we could go to the map showing the northern edge of the site. So, thank you, that last one there. We haven't, in the report, it shows the maps for the alternative paths which were variously suggested and considered. And one of the paths which I proposed, two paths that we then had a conversation with, but the northern path ran to the south of the house at the top of the playing field. So if you can just point to that with your arrow, thank you very much. Yes, ran along there. I was disappointed that there was no approach. That land is the school's land. It's owned by Dorset Council. Putting in a permissive path or alternatively rerouting is more easily done when the landowner proposes it. And the question is, why hasn't the reason that I was given as to it not proceeding, one of the reasons was that there might be an objection from the householder. However, no approach has been made to that householder. Why has no approach been made to that householder? Thank you.
Thank you. So I understand from the officer report that other routes were examined but were deemed to be unviable. If we could hear from the officer.
Thank you. Yes, so this is dealt with in the update sheet. So the school didn't apply, they've applied for an extinguishment and diversion. It's really up to them if they wanted to amend it to include a different route. And as they haven't, that's what's before you. And it is also considered that the potential impact on this household, yes, we haven't approached them because that's not part of the application. So there was no need to do so, but it is felt that the potential impact on their privacy would be such that it could mean they have a valid objection to that proposal. So that's why that one hasn't been pursued.
Thank you. Members, have we concluded technical questions? Are we happy to move into debate, or does somebody have a proposal? Councillor Bowden. Councillor Rideout, I apologise.
Chairman, no worries. Councillor Belinda Rideout, Gillingham Ward. I've listened to debate. I've obviously read the report. I think the school have done absolutely everything they can to mitigate any risk to the pupils or staff. And I think the proposal in front of us makes perfect sense, quite honestly. I'm very happy to approve.
So that's a proposal by Councillor Rideout, and I have a second from Councillor David Taylor, Charminster St Mary's. Are you content, David?
Happy to consent, Chair. Thank you very much.
So if we can... Councillor Northam.
Thank you. Having listened to the debate, I'm happy to support the proposal. I'd just like to highlight pursuing the permissive path, and as the ward member, I will look to talk again to the school about that in due course. The school have not committed to put a footpath, permissive path in. They've committed to investigate, and I will be there talking to them on that, because I would like to see use of this route outside of school time, and that's the benefit that a permissive path can bring. And I think there is a compromise there which will relieve the loss of this footpath. I accept that it's sad that because of the behaviour of a few individuals, a footpath is lost to general use to the public, but I accept that in these times that's a necessary precaution. The fear of loss of Ofsted status is overwhelming, and I fully support that. And the school is a big school, it's two-form entry, and it does have a variety of pupils there, and there is a need for making sure protection is in place. But I shall be following through with the permissive path discussions in due course. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Northam, and we look forward to hearing what progress you make on that. May I take this now to a vote in the usual way with a simple show of hands. So the proposal is to approve the extinguished part of footpath 131 and divert part of the footpath 62 in Weymouth. Those in favour? Thank you very much. So this item is resolved, and the application is therefore approved. If I can now just refer members back to something which should have happened earlier on in the meeting, but with the excitement, we missed the approval of the minutes held on the 30th of September 2024. Are you content for me to sign those? Thank you. And do we have any urgent business at this time, or exempt business? No. David, before I close the meeting, yeah.
I believe it's worth pointing out that because there are objections to this proposal that have been made by members of the public, that whilst this council has approved this still goes to the planning inspectorate. I believe that's the case. Could I have clarity?
David, I'll get our lawyer, Philip, to answer that to you directly.
Thank you, Chair. So the process now is that it's a two-stage process for the order to come into effect. So the order will be made and publicised. If there are objections as a result of that publicity, then the order would be submitted to the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of State will decide whether or not to confirm the order. If there are no objections, then the Council can itself confirm the order, and then it would take effect. So what has been carried out up to this date is a non-statutory informal consultation by the Rights of Way team, to which there have been objections, and so you've had the benefit of hearing from those in support and those against. But in order for it to be considered by the Secretary of State, there'd have to be objections to the next stage. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarity.
You're content with that response, Councillor Northam? Excellent. I therefore declare the meeting closed at 10:47. Thank you all very much for attendance today.